Morning, everybody. It is 8:11 a.m., March 10th. Welcome to my channel. And of course, yesterday, huge sell off in the markets. Okay, huge sell off. And then I talked about it in my pre market that I said I feel like this is just a bullish day. Obviously, didn't know Trump was going to say the war should be over soon later in the day. That's obviously I didn't know that. But the call was, hey, be long. I did get long. Unfortunately, got stopped right break even. I got in a little too early. Then the market um, did wind up taking off, going up. But then the market was like coming into some serious resistance. And then all of a sudden, I heard Trump say that the war could be over and the markets took off. Crude went from almost 120 a barrel back to 80 something yesterday. What I think it's the biggest reversal since I think around COVID or something. From 120 to down to 80 something is crazy. Okay? This isn't over. Okay, this is not over. Market's pulling back right now. Now, sometimes when Trump comes out and says stuff like this, a lot of times what happens is in the next couple days or so, that little juice or sugar rush the market got, it's taken back. Because obviously the war is not over. So, who knows? I don't know. This is the market we have. Okay? Now, Oracle, I think, reports earnings. Did they report earnings today? Let me see. 310. Yes. Oracle reports earnings. So that's like with the one earnings that's has something to it. Okay. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Also use market internals off the open. Let me know what's driving the markets. Anchor view ops, little ICT, and my weekly expected move indicator you can get for free on my Discord. Okay, now hopefully join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Give you the market story, the market news, economic calendar, technical analysis, and I give you the long and short trade scenarios in NASDAQ and ES futures every day. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay? So, why don't we get right into futures watch list? You can see metals are getting love today. Okay. Silver up 4.71%, back to $88 an ounce. Bitcoin's getting back up to 70K, up 2.212%. Gold up 1.48. Ethereum up 1.13. The VIX is up 0.55, but still at a 25 VIX. Okay. 30-year bonds are flat. 10-year yield is flat. Nasdaq's down 0.22. ES down 0.30. The Dow is down 0.33. The dollar's down 0.40. Russell down 0.71. And crude down 5%. Okay, it was down more. It's back to 90. So we'll see. We'll see. I was talking about in my community that you have to look at crude, and right now they're inversely correlated crude in the market. Okay, Max 7 here. Coinbase, the Bitcoin proxy, up 1.61%. Tesla up 0.30. And then we go to the bottoms here. Eli Lilly down 0.34, Nvidia down 0.42, Boeing down 0.44, and AMD down over 0.5%. All right, we go to top sectors here. Oracle. Oracle reports earnings today. They are up 0.88. That's the only thing that's moving there. Then you have Exxon, Chevron down, Palantir down 1.16, and the laggard is Qualcomm. Laggards, Qualcomm. Sectors. Sectors, there's no leading sector this morning. Everything's down. All right. So you have industrials down 0.26, semis down 0.36, financials down 0.40, and the laggard is energy. Okay. Now this market's kind of where it is now. It pushed up both markets, Nasdaq and ES, in supply. It's pulled back to this consolidation now. Now, if we break this consolidation lower, we show you right here. If we break this consolidation lower, we break that. This is the Trump news candle there. Okay. You got heavy demand here. Heavy demand here in the NASDAQ. Hugging the most traded price, ultimate balance. We're back to ultimate balance now, around the 249s. Okay, you lose that, that will take away the Trump news, but who knows? Like I said, this market is, how can you say it's almost over, right? That juiced the market. Any negative news now can take away that Trump sugar rush. That's just how it is. He's done this multiple times, right? Where like, oh, look what Trump just said, and by I would say sometimes in the next couple, 3 days, if there's anything negative, that gets whipped right away, and you're like, all right, well that's gone. We'll see though. Like I said, I'm just saying what I've seen in the past. Let's go to the economic calendar here. Okay, yesterday was really a nothing burger as far as that goes. So let's look at this together. All right, we have, let's see, ADP employment change weekly came out. Today we have existing home sales. That generally doesn't move markets, even though it's 10 a.m. So I'll be cognizant of it, but that generally doesn't move markets too much. I mean, I'm not going to put a trade on at 10 a.m., but like I said, it's not as big as a mover. Okay, let's go to Trump's schedule. Let me refresh this here. Right now, I don't see anything here that is, again, he can talk at any minute. Okay, I don't see anything there. All right, now we're gonna get into some news. Let's see if they have some stock news here. If anything's moved, any movers here. Just a bunch of, what we already know. You don't have to get too much into it about the news. He said the war could be over. Okay, and he talked about this strategic petroleum preserve. Like I said, you don't have to dive too much into it. Okay, so let's look at some news here. Exclusive Elon Musk SpaceX waives NASDAQ listing after seeking early index entry. Markets bet that Trump will end Iran war soon, despite threats from both sides. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said they would not let any oil out of the Middle East until U.S. and Israeli attacks cease, prompting U.S. President Trump to threaten to hit Iran 20 times harder if it blocks exports. So he just said that. I don't, like I said, do I see this war ending? Right? Who knows? It just, like I said, it's a sugar rush. AT&T to invest 250 billion over 5 years in U.S. to boost infrastructure. And then here you go. Oil prices plummeted 6%, retreating from more than a 3-year high in previous session, while the dollar took a breather as investors weighed hopes of a de-escalation against worries that such optimism might be premature. Okay. Trying to see what else here. Nothing else really here. Okay. Now, real quick, I want to see. We could do a little breath update here. Let me sec here. I got these. We're going to do a little breath update. Okay. So, the first is going to be our percentage of stocks over the 50-day moving average. Now look, we were down to 30, less below than 30%. You can see in this candle right there, okay, in this bar chart. Okay, we were pretty much down, but we were middling for, look how long we were middling. I talked about it ad nauseum, how middling we were, around 59, 60%. Then we dropped all the way into the 30s. Look at that. That's usually where the market gets a little oversold. Now, anything can happen from here, but this is why we check the breadth. Okay? So that's the percentage of stocks over the 50-day moving average. Now, you see it got weak to a prior weakness, right? And now it moved up. So, let's move on. Oop. So now we're going to go into the bullish percent index of the S&P 500. Okay, so that is at a 48. Okay, so everything got weaker. Now this didn't recover like the 50-day. It's a percentage over the 50-day. And 48%. Okay, so that's a little weakened. Okay, now we go over to the NASDAQ. That's what's going on, what I'm seeing every day. Okay, the NASDAQ, look at where the NASDAQ was. Down like 35% of stocks on buy signals. 55 are now. So why has that happened? Because tech has been up multiple days in a row, even when we go down. It's been the relative strength. And you can actually see in the chart now that it's higher up in the session in futures than the ES is now. So money has been flowing back into tech. Okay. Now, one more granular one in there is the bullish percent index of the tech sector right here. Okay. So we zoom in here and look at that. That's at 46. So it's clear what's happened in our market. Okay. What's clear is the overall breadth has weakened and tech is getting love more than the rest of the market. Okay. So there's a changing of the guard, and whoever's in my community with me, we've noticed tech has been up relative to the rest of the market multiple days last week and yesterday. Money was flowing out of tech for a while. So this is just all rotation. Does it last for a while? I don't know. Okay. It's always good to just see those things. Okay. Now, if we want to go into internal recap, okay. I actually left my gamma levels on today. That's the monthly gamma full point, folks. That's positive gamma. Okay. Now we might be back in negative gamma, but these run every day, so that might be different now. So, however, let's look at the internals. Internally, yesterday, we started out weak. That's why we dropped, right? And then we never were super strong. The whole market. Now, this is gonna. Let me show you. I'm gonna show you off the open. Okay, I'm gonna show you. Oh, do I not have that? I might not have it. Yesterday, I think I didn't post it. Did I post it? Yesterday, I didn't post it. That sucks. Anyway, it's not showing you the full picture here. Okay, so coming back to here, this market, you could see basically it was weak, right? But when this was just here, right, it was just wasn't that strong, but tech was. Okay, it was like mixed up here. All right, I posted about it. Now, real quick, I can show you my Discord, what I've been doing. All right, so I think I have a thing called daily receipts here. And yesterday, you can see here, I started it at the morning. This was at 9:20 a.m. You can see my bullish call. Markets came down to key levels in the overnight. Now there's a big buying tail in the markets. ES came right to 6,600. SPY hit the 200-day moving average. Pre-market, the Iran war looked priced in for now. I would expect markets to try and fill gaps this morning. That's what exactly happened, right? And then yesterday at 10, look, internals, ticks bearish. The weighted AD was bearish, right? Market cap, and this is what I said, market cap leaders lagging, top sectors are red besides XLK. So this is where I'm tracking. I'm tracking what I'm saying. And then look at 1230, XLK was leading up 1.40% off the open. Okay, so that's what happened today. Okay, So, I mean, yesterday. So I just wanted to give you that little result. I'm going to have that every day now. I'm going to track what I talk about. All right. So now it's just um, you get a shortened summary in my live market. You can see it's shortened, but the more details are in my daily receipts. All right. I think that's really important for myself. Okay. So obviously, this is the Trump news. So these internals look blown out now, but they were not the most strong market. It just wasn't. If tech was like neutral, the market would have probably been in a range. Even with tech that much, it was starting to fall here, and then it recovered. Okay? But if it wasn't for the Trump news, I think we would have stayed in range. But the Trump came out, and you never know when that's going to happen. Okay? Now we're going to move over into the daily chart. This market's nuts. It really is. It really is nuts. Remember, we came all the way down to that 200-day moving average pre-market. Okay, and what do we have? A bullish engulfing candle here. That's just a very bullish candle. Okay, very bullish candle. So, sorry. So that's last week's lows. Back inside last week's range. We're like in the middle almost of last week's range. Okay, we came back into last month's range. Where are we now? 676. We're right here. 676.20. We're right at last month's lows. Okay, we're right above it. Okay, let's look at futures. Okay, so here's futures. So this is where I said it gets very difficult right now for this market because like what happened, right? Let's get my marker out tool. So look at this range here. That's some serious range, right? Look what our market did. Came into that range. Now it's getting rejected. This is not going to be easy to pump through. It's not. And if that sugar rush is all it is a sugar rush from Trump just saying the war could be over soon, I mean, that's not the war is over. Okay? Algos kicked in. They loved it. But let's just say, you know, is this a swing high and then we can roll lower? I don't know. Or are we creating a new range? I don't know. Okay? What I do know is we swept the highs of the previous session. Now we're coming back. So your guess is as good as mine right now. We'll go over the scenarios in a little bit. Okay, we're going to go back to the Qs. Remember I said the Qs in futures, you'll see what I'm talking about, are stronger than the actual SPY. It's like they flipped. Okay? Look at the just real quick. Look at the what the QQQ did. It tested its 20-day simple moving average, right? Let's see where the SPY is. Look how far away from the 20 the SPY is. This is the rotation back into tech. Okay, real quick before we go to X. Okay, let's just see where technology sector is. I just want to. I'm just curious because like this should show us. This should show us. Yeah, look at that. Look at all this range in that one candle yesterday. Look at that. Boom. Right? That hit its 20 day. I'm not saying it's strong, but look at my point is this. What did I just tell you? Right? That tech each day has been relatively strong. Each day has been relatively strong. Meaning, now I track it from off the open, right? But look, how many days has opened and then closed higher? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7 days. XLK has opened and closed higher. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Maybe we can contrast that real quick with the SPY. Let's see. Does that have the same? It probably doesn't. almost a couple red or black candles. But anyway, let's go to the Qs. My point was Qs are relatively strong. All right. Look at that, bounce off last week's lows. That's Friday's close right there. Nice, right up to the 20-day moving average. Now these swing highs are going to be key here to get the year-to-date anchor view up here. Okay, where are we now? 605.50. We're right here at the upper portion of yesterday's range. Now let's look at the futures. Remember, I just showed you, right, that the Nasdaq, the ES was like remember the range was like, let's say it was here, and the ES only came up to that part of the range, like right here, and now is here, right? Look at the Nasdaq. See this range in the Nasdaq? You see how high up it is? So, and again, this is a lot of trading volume. Again, look, you swept this high, and now coming back. If you were long yesterday and you see this, we could move back down today. Like I said, I really don't know. I have to see what drives the market. You have a very bullish candle off a very speculative, positive, could be. I mean, not it is, could be, right? We have to see. Okay. Now, over to the hourlies. Do the hourly charts here. All right. Let's do it. All right. So, what did we do yesterday? What did I say? All right. We came right into this big demand zone. Then I said we moved up very healthily. There was the sweep. And then what happened when we went into this demand zone? Boom, boom. And then this is where I was like, all right, we should range today until Trump said the war could be over. Okay? Now, we've came up to this supply zone and the most traded price of the rolling week, right up here, around 66, 68.35 about. Made like an equal high, pushed back into this bullish FEG and demand. Okay? And demand. And we're no doubt here getting some love. Okay? If this falls apart around this, a little above 67.60, this could get really, really nasty. Okay? Because we moved up with poor structure with Trump. Now, if we go in here like this, boom, close back here, put a higher low in, yeah, we're going to try to nab that equal high around the 68.33. Okay? Now, this is a nice accumulation here. It's a nice accumulation here. I would say momentum definitely with the bulls. Okay, it's definitely with the bulls. And it's given us an opportunity here. It really is. Really, really, really is. Okay? So, put this FEG, bullish FEG in your chart. That is your temperature gauge. Okay? Because right now it's holding with demand. Like I said, anything like this, and you go back into this range, high or low, you long. Now, if this market goes like this, breaks this, right, closes down there, and you're like, uh-oh, right, or closes here, let's say, and you get one more shot, that could be a short. Okay? Like I said, we're in a big mess here. Look at the trading range to the left. This is where price came. Remember I said it came into the middle of this balance? This is not easy to just rip through it. It's just not. Okay? That's what we're looking at, the ES. Now we're going to look at the NASDAQ. Remember, NASDAQ has pushed higher up. So here is a big time difference in the NASDAQ. Okay. Same thing, like I said, look what happened yesterday. What did I say? I said push down, and I said, what's the key level? Last week's lows. What did we do? We consolidate, and then whoop, right into demand, and then that's all she wrote. Boom, 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 right here, where you were kind of at the bottom of this little range right here, because you filled the gap, right? And then Trump, boom. Now, what did Trump do? He pushed them over ultimate balance, 249s. So the Nasdaq is in a very bullish position. See how it already came back into this demand zone and ultimate balance? It's also the most traded price of this year. If this holds, it is bullish. Okay? If it holds, it's just bullish. It's all you can really say. So even if you get one of these, whoop, whoop, and you get a higher low, you're going to target this 252. Okay? This is going to be harder to break. This the break back through here, not going to be easy. It's just not. This is very bullish that you're holding this ultimate balance 249. It's just very bullish. Can't say anything about it. You really would need to break all of that, close down here to then test to get the short. But right now, all I can see is a long here. All I can see is a long. Remember this trading range, and you're kind of in the middle of it right here, pulling back to ultimate balance. Okay? Like I said, there's demand here. There's a bullish FEG here, ultimate balance. I mean, there's just a lot. Okay? I don't think this is going to be the easiest trade, but this is probably the easier trade, the long. Okay? Okay, that's it there. Now we're going to move over to that market profile and volume profile. All right, here's our ES. All right, so right off the bat, like I said, we have right here. We were gapping up. Now we're here. Okay, so let's split this out. All right. Now, like I said, this overnight low and this bullish FEG has to hold. Now we have single prints as well, right in here. Let me just add that. I know that there's single prints, but I really want to add that single prints here. Anything back here. Let me just add that here. These are single prints. They're one-way trade and market profile. All right. Okay, so I want that, even though I know that bullish FEG is there, I want to have the single prints there. That's the market profile. That's one-way trade. That's that Trump news, right? That is poor foundation. It's emotional buying. Okay, support in here is bullish. Weakness gets blown away. So it's very important to know that. Okay, very, very important to know that. Okay, now we came into heavy supply and we had resistance. Remember, in the middle of this trading range, all the way to the left. All right, so now we're going to get right into scenarios here. I'm going to start off with the bull side. That would probably be the easiest trade if tech continues to get rotated into. Okay, so where are we at now? Right here, kind of at the bottom of the overnight session. Okay, Very balanced profile in the overnight session. You can see the most traded price of the rolling week in the 24 hours is right here, 67.91. Okay. I usually keep it at the real-time trading hours, most traded price, but I always have this here. Obviously, it's showing me right here. So it's a very heavily traded area over the last week in the 24-hour session. You can see the high volume node here. Okay. So all right. So what do I want to see? Okay. Any push lower in these single prints and this bullish FEG. Any support. Now, you don't want them all taken out, but I would prefer more of like something like this to a close back inside this overnight range with a higher low, right? And then you're going to be able to come right in there and target that most traded price of the week around the 68.35. Now, you might get a little more gravy on top of that and get the 54s, the end of that supply. Or maybe even the most traded price of the month at 68.80. Okay? That's the easiest trade. If bulls stay with momentum. Okay? That's pretty much it. Like I said, could it work if it went all the way down here to the midpoint of 67.30? Yeah, I'd say that's your last line to maybe go oop and go back up. Okay? But any closure down here in an hourly candle, down here, is not good. And if you close, that means you take away the sugar rush of the Trump news. All right? If you just momentarily put a wick in, the bulls have momentum and we're going to go higher. Remember, like I said, what else more can take this market down from more? We already know what's going on, right? So it's going to be very hard for negative news to move our markets that much lower because it's already priced in. Crude was at 120, now it's at 90. You get what I'm saying? So now, can something escalate or something? Like I said, it always can. Okay? So, shorts. I think this is the harder play today. Okay? I really do. The only thing, obviously, there's always scenarios. Now, obviously, if we open up and come up into here and really try to get in here, but let's say the market internals are showing me that, oh man, tech's not really strong today, and you do one of these, you get a lower high, you can go back into this range. Okay, now, if you break those overnight lows and close down here, you can retest, and this thing could fall apart very quickly. I'm not saying that happens. I'm just saying it's viable. Because if you take this out and close down here, we just took out that positive news. And the market can go back into flux. The VIX will go higher. These markets are nuts. Okay? The other alternative with a short is if we opened up and we break this, right? We close somewhere here. Then you're going to look for some kind of premium, right? Back towards this range to see if the market can really recover. And if it can't, then you could really take it down. Okay, these are not my favorite scenarios. These are a scenario, right? You always got to prepare for whatever's happening in the markets. Okay, we just have to see. I don't know. Okay, now to the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is very bullish, just in structure. In structure alone, it's very bullish. Okay, look, we're right at the most traded price of the overnights right now, 24952. Okay, but like I said just before, okay, that this has a very bullish structure. This is ultimate balance. 249 has been the most traded price of this year, the last month, the last week. The market price is here. So structurally, it's showing, hi, we're accepting price above ultimate balance. This is very bullish. Okay? This is very bullish, and tech has been getting bought. Okay? So, this is pretty easy. Same as the ES, but the Nasdaq's just been relatively stronger. Okay? So we're going to start off with some scenarios here. Let's going to start with the bull. All you need to care about is any weakness that comes into here and sweeps, comes back, and makes this higher lows. You're going to target the overnight highs, 25146. Then you're going to go for the 252s. Last week's highs is right up here, which is insane, 25243. Okay? Could even go deeper. Like I said, the last line here would be 24684. That's the 50% retracement of yesterday's range. I wouldn't prefer it, but it's still, if it came down there quickly and did the higher low, and it would really have to battle through ultimate balance again. If it just, then it's a long. Okay? So 249s is your defense for the NASDAQ. Now, don't get emotionally wrapped if this breaks 249. 5 minutes candle, and then it comes right back. That is not bearish. That is meant to scare you. That is meant to make you liquidity for the markets. Acceptance is like a 30-minute, 2 30-minute closes, hourly close below this. It might be like this. Okay, we just closed below that. Okay, just to give you that perspective. Now, shorts. This is not something I'm looking for in the NASDAQ today so far, because I know of this big level. Now, of course, if we drive up here, come up here, sweep that liquidity into supply, right? And then depending, if the market's really super strong again with tech, I'm probably staying away from a short. But if it's kind of neutral and tech is not leading, if you get some kind of pushback in, we can come right back into ultimate balance. Now, if this opposite happens, we take out the 249s, close down here, and the market is weak, and you get one momentous rally back to ultimate balance, and it rips down and it comes back under, you short that thing. You target the previous day's lows. That's going to be super weak. Okay? But a lot of stuff has to happen for me to actually change my mind in that, because the 249s is so powerful. All right? So, that is it for me, folks. Smash that like button if you enjoyed that analysis. That'd be much appreciated. Okay, now hopefully you join me every day. Subscribe, set that alert. Give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar every morning. Technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios of the NASDAQ and ES futures. Okay. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, let me be your indicator. Now, part of the reason on my Discord, I did the daily receipts, right? And, give the community, give the community something they can look at instead of me just speaking live, right? This is like tagged yesterday. Look at that in the morning. Said I was bullish, right? Full details in the daily receipt. So this is being put in both channels so you can see what I'm seeing throughout the day. And now it's logged. Daily receipt has more information of what I was talking about yesterday and how we wrapped up the day. Okay? So this is my receipt, right? And even for myself, because my community members can attest that I'm pretty much nailing the theme of the market every day. And sometimes early on, like yesterday I was long based on my plan, that there was another opportunity. And honestly, I think I was typing up my scenarios or something where I missed that next opportunity to get long, right? And then after that, the only thing I saw left was another pullback we had mid-session. And I was like, that was probably the next long. Now, that was an ugly, ugly time to trade. And I'm really starting to rethink, because I used to only trade from 9:30 to like 11:45, 12, and then I would just shut down my charts. I'm really, Even though I've caught many setups around 12:30, 1, there has to be super volatility for me to be interested, but I'm probably going to try to start implementing that back again, where I just shut down. If I don't see anything at 11:45, 12, I just shut down. Two things with that. What it's going to probably help me do is not be burnt out by looking at markets, even though I'm kind of in my community, kind of having fun in my community when we're live or whatever. So you're not just sitting there by yourself, which is nice. But what I'm gonna try to do, there's so many opportunities that happen early on in my community, and I know my members can attest to it. That we're like, oh, that could be a long here, but the market is so whippy or whatever that you don't have a super ton of like conviction maybe, but it's like my plan is coming out. My plan has been coming out consistently. And to me, that's where my plan basically gets the most. You have the most volume. It makes the most sense to try, even if I'm right on half of it, and I've been right on more than half of it every day. So what I'm saying is, if I cut myself off by 11:45 or 12, it's going to force me to really concentrate on my edge early instead of going, oh, well, I'll wait. Because the more you wait, the volume goes down, the less bigger moves happen. It's still viable, like I said, but then there's the mental burnout where you're like, all right, I haven't even traded. And what happens sometimes is you wind up forcing a trade from just watching, which happened to me yesterday. I didn't have a trade. Oh, I did have a trade early, right? But then I didn't trade for a while. And then eventually I'm like, all right, even though my analysis was correct, but then I didn't know Trump was going to say that, right? So I was literally in a trade, a short, all the way. It was right at break even. My trade was right at my entry, and then Trump's news came out and stopped me. And I was like, jeez, because the market wasn't strong enough to move up at that point, right? But in all honesty, I really should have missed. I should have had the long previous to that, right? Tech was up, and why I did probably do that. It was later in the day. My long played out. That's that whole thing where a lot of traders struggle is like when my analysis is correct and now I don't have money to show for my analysis, it is very frustrating. I can't like it's a new level that I'm in my journey where I'm reading the market so well. I know my community members can attest to it. I'm looking at it so well, pre-market, in the morning, on point, and it's working. And I'm like, either I'm in a trade that I got to break even, or I'm just watching my scenario play out. Now, if there's no trade setup, then there's nothing I can do. It's still annoying, but that's a whole nother issue lately. Being so on point with my analysis. Back in the day, maybe I wasn't even on point with my analysis, but I'd have losing trades, and that was more confused. This isn't confusing. It just gets annoying, and then it makes you go, all right. How would you like to build a sandcastle, and every time you build the sandcastle, it looks beautiful, and then the water washes it away, and then you don't have nothing. You got to start over again. It's like, but yet your sandcastle was beautiful, and maybe one person saw it, right? But then it gets blown away again. It's very frustrating. It's a weird thing to have to be right on the market, and then you're not having super trades to be like, see, based on my. But I know my analysis now. I have the daily receipts in my Discord, so this is also going to help me go. See, you were right again. See, you were right again. So it's going to make me, want to trade earlier and just go based. Hey, this is worth the risk, right? Because if you wait, and wait. Now I know, well, if you wait too long, you might manufacture a trade later. That's maybe like a C. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Okay? That's it for me, folks. All right? Now, that was my little ramble on about my own JOLO journey. Now, hope everybody has a great day. Remember, no trade's a trade. Hope everybody has a green day. Hope I do. Okay? This market is nuts. So, let's see. Let's see what the market brings us. All right. Now, if I don't see you in my Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.